Sankofa, back to the source. Sankofa, back where our ancestors came. Back to the source. Sankofa.
Hotel, peace. Welcome to another edition of Sankofa, Lessons from Black History. My name is Baba Andar Ma'at, and I'm honored to have this opportunity to share with you Black history and culture. On today's program, we want to share with you about Kwanzaa and the celebration of life. But first, let us talk about Sankofa. Sankofa is an African word from the Twi language. It speaks of go back and fetch it, return to the source. The Sankofa bird is an Adinkra symbol of the Asante people of West Africa. It's a very interesting and powerful symbol. The feet of the bird are facing forward. The head of the bird is turned backwards, and in the mouth of the bird is an egg. This symbolizes the fact that we are standing here, but facing forward, moving into the future. But in order to move into the future, we need to turn back and study our history. So with the head of the bird turning back, it's saying, study the past in order to move forward into the future. And the egg symbolizes the productive and prosperous future we can have if we learn the lessons of the past and move into the future guided by those lessons. Sankofa, Lessons from Black History. The purpose of this program is for us to study and to learn Black history, African history, and to extract from that history valuable lessons that will help guide us and direct us as we move into a more productive and prosperous future. As I said earlier, on this particular edition, we want to share with you Kwanzaa, a celebration of life, Black life. And I want to start off by saying it's important that all people celebrate their history. They memorialize their ancestors. They commemorate their past victories and losses. They honor their tradition, and they celebrate their culture. This is a human activity. For African Americans, we participate in celebrations of this nation. We give thanks on Thanksgiving, though we were not pilgrims. We celebrate Christmas in the life of Jesus, though Jesus and Santa Claus does not resemble us. And we celebrate the 4th of July, America's Independence Day, though at the time that America gained its independence, we were enslaved. But nevertheless, we celebrate these days because we're part of this nation. But in 1865, something great and wonderful happened. See, history tells us that free and independent people create their own holidays and holy days to celebrate themselves. In 1865, African Americans started to create holidays that were more reflective of the Black experience in America. So today, in the month of June, we celebrate Juneteenth because it speaks of the time of emancipation, the freedom and independence of Black people in America. In February, we celebrate Black History Month as given to us by Carter G. Woodson to help us to have knowledge of our past, those great heroes and sheroes. And then in January, we honor Dr. Martin Luther King. These are all times during the year that we come together to celebrate our history and our culture. For some groups of people, they also celebrate May 19th, which is the birthday of Malcolm X. Some people celebrate August the 17th, which is the birthday of Marcus Garvey. Some people celebrate Ida B. Wells' birthday on July 16th. And now we even have time where in October, you have a tradition of recognizing and remembering the Million Man March. And recently we started a celebration of Ma'afa, the African Holocaust, a day of remembrance and healing. See, this is part of our responsibility as people of African descent to learn from history that free and independent people create celebrations that honor themselves in their history. Well, something magnificent happened, and I want to share with you about Kwanzaa. See, Kwanzaa is an African-American, Pan-African cultural holiday celebrating family, community, and culture. It is celebrated from December the 26th to January the 1st. And I want to make this very clear. Kwanzaa is not an alternative or a substitute for Christmas. See, Christmas is a religious holiday, and it's celebrated on December the 25th. Kwanzaa is a cultural holiday. It begins on December the 26th, and it's a 7-day holiday celebration that goes to January the 1st. There are many that celebrate Christmas and Kwanzaa. Now, with this week-long celebration, it began in 1966. Kwanzaa was created by Dr. Maulana Karinga, one of our great historians and activists. Understand that during the 1950s and 60s, there were cultural and independent movements going on throughout the world. In Africa, you had the independent movement led by Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. He was the president of Ghana, and they gained their independence in 1957. And many other African countries started gaining their independence in the end of colonialism. Here in America, you had the civil rights movement as led by Dr. Martin Luther King and many others. Then you had the Black Power movement led by Malcolm X and many others. But Dr. Maulana Karinga, being a young man at the time, he saw another kind of movement that we needed. He believed that we needed a cultural movement. A cultural movement. And at the root of all people's culture are their values, their ideas, their principles, their beliefs that guide their thinking and ultimately their behavior. So Dr. Karinga, being an African historian, wanted to start this celebration. And he established what is called the Nguzo Saba, or the 7 principles, many times referred to as the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. Those principles are, and I'm going to share with you in Swahili and in English. First, understand Swahili is an African language spoken mainly on the east coast of Africa in countries like Tanzania, Kenya, the Congo. Actually, it's the national language of Tanzania. Well, Dr. Karinga wanted to connect us to an African language. So he incorporated Kiswahili. Now, the principles are umoja, unity, kujijagalia, self-determination, ujima, collective work and responsibility, ujamaa, cooperative economics, nia, purpose, Kaumba, creativity, and Imani, faith. These are the 7 basic principles that Dr. Karenga believed that would help us be a stronger and more productive people in America and throughout the world. Kwanzaa was created in order to introduce these principles and reinforce these principles. The celebration of Kwanzaa is based on the African tradition of harvest celebrations that are celebrated in many parts of Africa. For example, in Southern Africa, the Zulus have a first fruit harvest celebration called the Umkusi. In Ghana, the Ashanti people have a first harvest celebration called the Oduwira. Well, the word Kwanzaa comes from the phrase Matunda ya Kwanzaa, which means first fruit. So, what Dr. Karenga, I believe, wanted us to understand is that these principles are like seeds that we should embrace and plant in our hearts and in our heads. And throughout the year, we practice these principles, which will show us being productive within our community. For example, sometime in our community, we value certain principles that are not beneficial to us. Sometimes we are maybe selfish and we're less thoughtful of others. But Dr. Karenga believed, and I agree, that the principle of unity, if we really embrace this principle and practice it, we would be more patient, kind, loving, and thoughtful with each other so we could come together and do great things as a people. So by embracing these principles, we can become the great people we are destined to be. Now, in the celebration of Kwanzaa, there are symbols, just like in many other holidays. When we think of Easter, many times we think of the Easter egg. We think of Thanksgiving, we think of the turkey. We think of Christmas, we think of the Christmas tree. Well, Dr. Karenga established 7 basic symbols of Kwanzaa, and I want to share them with you. Come. These basic principles, or these basic symbols are, first you have the umkeka, the mat. It represents the African foundation on which we stand. Then you have the konara, the candle holder, and it symbolizes those African parents, those ancestors that came before us. You have the 7 candles. Each candle represents one of the principles. For example, the black candle represents the principle of umoja, unity. The red candle, kujijakalia, self-determination. The green candle, ujima, collective work and responsibility. And throughout, all the 7 principles are represented in the candles. Then you have the kikube cha umoja, unity cup, which represents our unity as a people. You have the muhindi, the corn, which represents the number of children within our family. So if you have 1 child, you have 1 ear of corn. If you have 2 children, you have 2 ears of corn. Then you have the mazoo, which are the fruits and vegetables. It symbolizes our productive work when we come together and work as a family and as a community. Then you have what we call the zawadi, the gift. The gift are given to those children that uphold the principles and practice those things that are beneficial to the family and community. So we give the gifts to our loved ones. Now, these are the 7 basic principles, but also you can have just a poster or a little note telling you about the basic principles of Kwanzaa. And on here, you have a listing of the Nguzo Saba, or the 7 principles. And then, of course, as you can see, pretty much everything is in red, black, and green. And these are the colors of Kwanzaa. These colors were given to us by the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey. And he said that red is for the struggle, black is for the people, and green is for the land. And pretty much these are the symbols that we set up when we celebrate Kwanzaa. Now I want to share with you briefly the ceremony of Kwanzaa, the basic ceremony. The first day of Kwanzaa, being December the 26th, we should call our family and our community together. We form a circle, preferably men on one side from the elder to the youngest, women on the other side from the oldest to the youngest. And it represents the circle that should never be broken, from the elders to the children, but also from the ancestors to those yet unborn. Truly, the circle is unbroken. Well, we form a circle and we ask the question, Habari Gani, which means, what's the news? Each person will respond with the principle of that day. For example, the first day being the principle of Umoja, each person would say Umoja, unity. And then they would explain what is unity to them, what does it mean, and how did they practice this principle throughout the year. This is a way for us as a family community to talk to each other, to share our ideas and understanding of these principles, and to make a commitment to practicing them in the future. And we can support each other as we hear the response. So all the people in the circle will be asked, Habari Gani, and they will respond with the principle of that day. And let me just back up, because at the very beginning, before we even get there, we would light the first candle. So the first day you would light the black candle, the principle of Umoja, unity. The second day you would light the candle of Umoja, unity, but then also the principle of Kujitjagalia, self-determination. And each day you will alternate lighting the candles until on the 7th day, all 7 candles are lit. And that would be the principle of Imani, faith. Now that we have stood in the circle, we have discussed the principle of that day. The next thing we want to do is to take the cup, and we would, of course, always give thanks and praise to the Creator and Sustainer and the Maker of all life. We will honor our ancestors, and we will invite each member to name an ancestor who practiced this principle. For example, we can go around the circle and say, name an ancestor. And someone may say, Martin Luther King practiced unity. Ida B. Wells practiced unity. And many others. Then we would pass around the cup, and each one would drink from the cup, symbolizing our unity to the principle, commitment to the principle, and the unity to the group and family. At that point, we would take the opportunity to do our Harambes, meaning let us pull together. We'll raise our hand up, reaching up, pulling down the spirit and the great energy, and we would say Harambe, meaning let us pull together. And we would do it 7 times. For example, Harambe, 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 Harambe. And of course, you would extend it out as long as the voice would take it. Family, this would be a basic celebration of the Kwanzaa circle. But the Kwanzaa celebration is pretty much like all celebrations. What do? we gather together as a family and community. We prepare and we eat good, healthy food. We play games, we tell stories, we listen to music, we dance, we celebrate the best of life. And we celebrate what we have accomplished for that year by practicing these principles. Pretty much, this is the celebration of Kwanzaa. And we want to invite all of us to join in and celebrate Kwanzaa, a Pan-African, African-American holiday celebrating family, community, and culture. Last thing, and this is important, Kwanzaa began with Dr. Karinga and a small group of people with the US organization and community people in Los Angeles. From that small group, today, millions of people throughout the African world community celebrate Kwanzaa annually. And now we're inviting you to join in and celebrate Kwanzaa with us. If you'd like to learn more about Kwanzaa, please reach out to us. You can reach us at 560-3622. Please join us as we all should celebrate this great holiday. And then the last note to say that in San Antonio, we will kick off the Kwanzaa celebration with the Kwanzaa Market Festival on December the 14th. We invite you to come out and be a part of that, because we'll talk about Kwanzaa. We'll have great African wares and vendors, and people can shop and be entertained, and it'll be a great opportunity to start the Kwanzaa season and get ready for December the 26th through January the 1st. With that, I want to leave you with this. Enjoy the Kwanzaa line dance and the Umoja line dance team. Let's celebrate Kwanzaa.
Bargani, what's the news, brother?
Kwanzaa.
Bargani, what's the news, sister?
Kwanzaa.
It's Kwanzaa time. It's Kwanzaa time. It's Kwanzaa time.
Brothers and sisters, it's Kwanzaa time. Get on up and join the Kwanzaa line. Brothers and sisters, it's Kwanzaa time. Get on down on the Kwanzaa line. Brothers and sisters, it's Kwanzaa time. Get on up and join the Kwanzaa line. Brothers and sisters, it's Kwanzaa time. Get on down on the Kwanzaa line.
Standing
Meditate, celebrate, it's Kwanzaa time. Meditate, celebrate, it's Kwanzaa time.
Brothers and sisters, it's Kwanzaa time. Get on up and join the Kwanzaa line. Brothers and sisters, it's Kwanzaa time. Get on down on the Kwanzaa line. Brothers and sisters, it's Kwanzaa time. Get on up and join the Kwanzaa line. Brothers and sisters, it's Kwanzaa time. Get on down on the Kwanzaa line. Harambe,
Unity,
let us pull together, y'all. Harambe,
self-determination.
let me hear my brother say.
Harambe, collective work and
Let me
responsibility.
hear my sister say. Harambe,
Cooperative
let me
economics.
hear my brother say.
Harambe,